Okay, this is take 2, Wellness Wednesday. The first Wellness Wednesday live I did today was a little bit of a disaster, so I've decided to redo it because Ned completely lost his shit at the beginning, and I then had him sitting on the table, and then anyway, I was like, I'm going to redo it so it's a little bit less annoying to watch. I don't want to talk today about detoxifying, the importance of detoxing and understanding detoxification, and the signs and symptoms that you may have indicating that your detoxification pathways are not working as well as they should be. So first off, I want to start by saying there's a number, it's something like 20,000 new chemicals produced every year, and they're put into our soil, into our water, into our air, into our food, and it's totally unavoidable. We can't avoid all the chemicals we're exposed to. It's not possible, okay? But we can do a lot to reduce the toxic load, and I'm going to explain why that is really, really, really important. Now, a toxin, to begin, is any type of substance that has the potential to interfere with cellular function. I'm going to read that again. It's anything that's a type of substance that has the potential to interfere with a cellular function. Okay? Now, just think about that, given our current environment and our current situation. That could be a lot of different things. Even when we get bacteria and viruses, they produce a thing called endotoxins, which is basically toxins made, and then our body's got to deal with it from the viruses, from the pathogens. And that can cause damage to the cell. So when we're talking about toxicity, when we're talking about detoxifying, first of all, we need to understand that our body is always detoxifying. I think in the 90s, I remember as a kid, detoxifying, I don't even know because I wasn't even in the health space, but I think detoxifying or detoxes have had a bit of a bad rap. Old school naturopathic practices used to go a bit too hard and didn't have this slow and gentle approach as what they do now, and you can still do that, but you've still got to do it under supervision if you're going to go faster, and you've got to understand that our body is always detoxifying. Like, that is fact. We detoxify through our digestion, so we eat food, we churn it up, we break it down. This is an immune system, immune defense from the outside world to begin with. But then our liver does a lot of the detoxifying in our body from our cleaning our blood. So does the kidneys. And when the liver is overburdened, what happens is stuff recirculates, and we have 3 phases of detoxification with the liver. 1, 2, 3. Phase 1 is usually really good, works quite well, and phase 2 and 3 are the problem. What happens when we detoxify is it's like a wrapper. Think of a lolly that's got a wrapper around it, unpacks it, and then you got to do something with the inside contents, and then you got to pack it back up, and then you got to send it on its way. So it's sort of like you're the wholesaler, you're buying product, you're getting it, you're rewrapping it, you're sending it off to I just made that up on the spot, sending it off to the consumer. There's this process that has to happen. And so what happens is when our livers aren't working properly is phase 1, the stuff comes in, no worries. Phase 1, fine. Phase 2 and 3, slow. So it's like 3 lanes of traffic into one. It's big bottleneck. And so then what happens is our body can't deal with it, and it sends stuff back around the bloodstream. It's like, I'll deal with this later. It might store it in fat cells. and then I'll be like, I'm going to deal with this toxicity later. And then what happens is, because we're constantly overburdened and we're not giving our bodies a break, we're not giving our bodies a time to rest and renew, they don't get the time to detoxify, then we start to get symptoms that are indicating to us that our body is not working as well as it should be. And so this can come out with poor digestion, poor bowel movements that aren't normal, bloating, gas, reflux, all of those, as well as skin issues. It could be eczema, autoimmune issues, which is further on. It's been happening for a while. Joint pain, inflammation, any type of long-term inflammation, headaches, migraines, allergies. That means our gut's not working properly, so we're not clearing it properly. Weight gain is a big one. Oh my God, he's going to do it again. Hey! And now I've given him a bone this time, and he's going to keep crying because he wants to bury it. Out. Out. Dogs do this weird thing where, and it will be in my pillow tonight. I will find it and I'll be like, thanks. So we have these signs and symptoms that's telling us, and a lot of the time it can be, the things that are more damaging will get stored up and protected because our body just can't get rid of them, and they're things like heavy metals, other chemicals and things that we can't get processed, and our substances from our everyday environment can be the burden, as well as exposure to excess things such as heavy metals, such as molds, those types of things. A lot of people can get, and sometimes can be an exposure to something, and it might trigger something, but we would have already been burdened by that point. Autoimmune, I'll give you an example with autoimmune. Autoimmune gets triggered when there's an event. It's not the event that is the problem. So a stressful event, it can be a virus, it can be a bacterial. When I'm talking about virus, I'm talking more like Epstein-Barr virus or other pathogens, parasites. It could be the flu. Sometimes when people have been overseas and gotten really sick, those types of things. This overload can pull the gun, but the general toxicity is already loaded. There's already a toxicity overload, and you'll get these from our foods, from our waters, from our environment, from pharmaceuticals that have been consumed or injected, that may pull the gun. It doesn't mean that that's necessarily the thing that that can trigger it or cause it. There's going to be a build up. There's going to be a foundation, and this is the bit that people seem to miss. When you look into this a lot more, you'll understand. There's a lot of people that talk about this. It's like the toxic burden. And then there'll be an event that is too much for the body to handle, and that can trigger the body into autoimmune, into other conditions, other chronic health easily. It can be triggered. Autoimmune often will get triggered by a stressful event. So we're looking at our environment, and then when we're looking at food, back to the symptoms actually, I have actually a health questionnaire, a detox questionnaire that you can fill out if you're interested. And I do this with all my clients. I take them through a health questionnaire, but then I also give them a detox questionnaire to fill out their symptoms that they've been experiencing the last 30 days, and it gives me a score. And then it's a really good measure to go, okay, this is where we started, and this is where we are now. And the score, by the way, is an under 10 is good, but the score can go up to over 100. It can be like 140 for extreme toxicity. And I see people that are over 100. So just saying, And this goes through all the systems, your digestion, your like a lot of ear, lung, throat, heart, symptoms, emotional symptoms, energy, fatigue, concentration, muscle pains, joint pain, all of that. So if you want to fill that out, I will put the link in the comments and you can fill it out, and then let me know and I can give you a score and tell you what your score is, and I can explain it a little bit more. So it's a really good thing to do. In terms of detoxification, the way I look at it is we need to have moments in the year, at least once a year, where you have a decent amount of time where you give your body a break and you really nourish your body and remove the things that you normally would have that are going to burden your body, such as alcohol, sugar, chemicals in your environment, like be a lot stricter with the chemicals, drinking a lot more water, all those things. And sometimes for people it's learning, you got to retrain yourself how to eat, retrain yourself how to really live life, I guess is the main thing. And it takes time, but it is good to have a break each year and give yourself a real chance to repair and rest. And what happens is when we're burdened with things like heavy metals and stuff, which are in everywhere, by the way, some people have had more exposure to others. Like, for example, if I was to work with someone, say example, who is a hairdresser, or works in construction, or works in some sort of industry where they're exposed to a lot of chemicals, I'd be going, okay, what's your toxicity load? And there's some testing that you can do as well to test it. For example, hair tissue mineral analysis, where it tests for heavy metals and the ratio of your minerals to say, okay, this is what potentially is going on. Is there mercury? Is there lead? There's a few weird heavy metals that come from things like using Teflon pans, because they can be toxic, from exposure to different chemicals in your skincare and stuff like that, exposure to even some people might even get I've seen toxicity for arsenic from having a rice protein powder, trying to figure out what the hell is where this arsenic's coming from. It's from the rice. So it goes to show we don't always know where our foods come from, even if it's organic, and we've got to be really conscious of the fact that there are so many chemicals we're burdened with. And think about this. There was a study that was done about 10 years ago, I'm going to have to go and find it, where it tested the cord blood of unborn babies. It's either unborn babies or new babies, but I have to double check it. And they found over 200 chemicals. 200 chemicals in a baby that's not even born yet. Or just brand new. And so it would have had to have been when it was born, hey? I have to double check, right? But that's crazy. That was 10 years ago. And then, you hear about people, I've heard a lot of different environmental scientists and stuff talk about plastics, BPA, plastics, phthalates, which are all in plastics, and they're endocrine disruptors, which mean they disrupt your hormones. And so they mimic estrogen in the body. And so if your detoxification systems are not working as well as they should, and you have excess of these chemicals, what happens is it goes into our liver can't deal with it, it sends it back around the bloodstream, and our body will then behave as though these chemicals disrupt our hormones because they mimic estrogen in the body, and then we start to get PMS symptoms, heavy periods. Further down that line is fibroids, even endometriosis. Those in that category of estrogen dominance can be a real problem, and it comes from this whole concept of our liver and our digestion not working as well as it should, and then we're not clearing out what's coming in. So this combination of really conscious, like trying to do as well as you can with what's coming in, but also understanding that there's going to be toxins you can't deal with, and you can't deal with, you can't get over, you can't control, sorry is the right word. So food, when we're talking about food, we're not just talking about if it's organic or not organic. Is it real food? Has it got food additives? Has it got preservatives? I really encourage you to start to read food labels. Are there pesticides in it? Are you eating a lot of gluten? This can be toxic from the fact of it is sprayed heavily with pesticides, but also gluten will cause issues with the digestive tract, cause a condition known as leaky gut. This is a vicious cycle when it comes to detoxification, because then we're not absorbing our nutrients properly, then we're not detoxifying properly. This will cause inflammation. So the gut needs to be working well for us to be able to detoxify, and gluten will contribute to that significantly. And we know that from the research, okay? We know that you don't have to have celiac disease. You have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. I would say most people are somewhat sensitive to gluten and they don't realize. And what we know about wheat and what we know about the way wheat has changed is we're like, it's highly toxic because of the way it's processed, because of the way it's stored, because of the way it's been changed, and it's got high gluten content, and so it doesn't add any value really to our diet. Tastes good, doesn't add any value. So people will argue with me on that one, but I'm like, you cannot tell me that you get your nutrients from other like real foods. And I'm not saying never have gluten if it's something that's important to you, but you know, it should be an every now and then thing. If you have an autoimmune condition, this is a different conversation, because I don't think anyone with autoimmune should ever be having gluten, because it can mimic, it has molecular mimicry, which means that it can mimic, particularly with thyroid conditions, it can mimic thyroid, autoimmune, like Hashimoto's or Graves'. It can mimic the thyroid tissue, and it can spike an attack. So that's my opinion, because I know what I know. And so really looking at your food and really cleaning it up and trying to get in more organic as produce as you can, being smart about it. It's also what's affordable. You don't want to be causing yourself extra stress over it. But eating more plants in general, following the JERF principle, which is just eat real food. And then really then going, okay, well, where am I getting in toxins from my outside environment? Is it drinking, smoking, exposure to chemicals? Could it be molds in my environment? EMFs is the other thing, electromagnetic frequency, so mobile phones, that can cause toxicity too. Really being conscious of where are the chemicals or the things that can cause damage to your cells coming from. It can be excessive sun exposure, UVB, or UV radiation, which is, for me, is a bit more from damage from EMFs, Wi-Fi, those types of things, than from the sun, because we need good levels of vitamin D, but there is a balance. Given that and having that said that, there is a balance. Chemicals from chemical sunscreens can cause a lot of issues, which is ironic, right? So really understanding that, the power of detoxification, and this is one of the reasons I really like fasting, is because intermittent fasting, which is, there's a few in this group that are doing the challenge, it gives our digestion a rest, to rest and repair. And then focusing in on having more clean, filtered water. Water is so important. Eating more veg, moving your body, exercise is a really powerful detoxification. Sweating is really powerful detoxification. This is why a lot of people use infrared saunas. Supporting your liver with bitter herbs, cruciferous vegetables, eating lots and lots and lots of cruciferous vegetables, eating things like bitters, like if you're going to have coffee, have it black, bitters, lemon water, bitter foods that are bitter, which will stimulate your digestion. Cruciferous vegetables, the sulfur in cruciferous vegetables is extremely powerful for detoxification. and eating lots of cruciferous vegetables. So there's things in the broccoli family. So cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, that family. Really, really important because it will support your detoxification pathways. And what else? That's really it. And my encouragement is, if you've got questions, let me know. Go do the survey. See what your score is, see what you've got going on, and going, yeah, well, maybe this is an indicator for me that I actually do need to do some detoxification. And it's not going to be, that doesn't mean it has to be this hardcore, crazy protocol. It just means cleaning up your diet, cleaning up your water. Water is huge, and heavy metals in water, chlorine in water, fluoride in water. Fluoride, just so you know, and I've done a whole talks on water. Fluoride will stop iodine being, so we need iodine for our thyroid. It's part of the haloid family. You think of the table of elements. Go back to your chemistry days. And we have bromine, fluoride, or fluorine, bromine, fluoride, and chlorine. There might be another one. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then, fluoride stops iodine being absorbed, or stops iodine going onto the receptor for thyroid to be converted to its active form, T3. So what happens is, first of all, we're low in iodine, and then we're drinking water that's got fluoride in it, and it's stopping the absorption of iodine anyway. We're very low, and people are like, well, I eat food that, and this is why they've put put iodine in iodized salt, iodized bread, stuff like that. For me, I'm like, I don't like that. I'd rather supplement with kelp and get my iodine levels that way. But Australian soils are very, very low in iodine, and this is one of the problems. And they did recognise that, Australian health bodies of being, but it's in foods that are processed. So they're aiming it for people that are eating processed foods, but then I think there's other health implications that go with that. So the payoff is to then, still make sure that you're getting in enough iodine through other sources, and you want to be testing, and then also making sure you're not drinking water that's got things that are going to stop the absorption of it. Okay, so that's my little rant about water. Go do the quiz. Let me know how you go. If you've got any questions, if you just join this group and you really do want to work on your hormones, go do the quiz. Go do it. Reach out to me. Say I've done my quiz. What's my score? And I will let you know. And you want a score that's lower than 10, and it could be a lot higher than that, and it's an indicator that you've got some work to do. The body speaks to us in whispers, and if we don't listen, the whispers get louder. And this is what happened to me 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now. I had a kidney tumor in my right kidney. I didn't listen to all the signs and symptoms. I didn't look after myself. I had no idea what it was like to really look after yourself. And I lost a kidney to a massive tumor, and I didn't have any other treatment, but I was very much left to my own devices, and I really took my own health into my hands, and it's something that you've got to do. So if you are in this group and you've just joined, or you've been in here for a while and you're really struggling, or you're feeling frustrated, take the detox survey. Just do it as a check. Check in with yourself. You might even bring some awareness into some symptoms that you've got and you didn't realize, and the importance of that. And then we can talk about what that would look like. And if you go through the content in this group, you will learn a lot, and you will, if you start to apply it, and you should start to naturally see results. So that is all. If you're watching this on replay, please press #replay, and I will see you guys all next week. Ciao.